There's a reason your manifestations aren't working. And it's not what you think. It's not that you don't believe enough. It's not that you're not spiritual enough. It's not that the universe is testing you, or that you have limiting beliefs blocking your desires. The reason is far more direct and far more fixable. You're broadcasting the wrong frequency. And you've been doing it the entire time you thought you were manifesting. Here's what I mean. Every morning you sit down to visualize. You close your eyes and imagine having the thing you want. The relationship, the money, the opportunity, the life that feels aligned. You feel the feelings of having it. You say the affirmations. You write in your manifestation journal. You do everything the teachers told you to do. And for those 10, 15, maybe 30 minutes, you're focused on the desire, feeling it, claiming it, asking for it. Then you open your eyes. And for the remaining 23 and a half hours of your day, what are you actually doing? Checking to see if it's here yet, wondering when it will arrive, feeling the absence of it, noticing that it's still not here, trying to figure out what you're doing wrong. And every single one of those moments, you're broadcasting one unwavering frequency. I don't have this. The universe doesn't respond to your words. It doesn't care about your vision board. It doesn't listen to your affirmations. The universe responds to frequency, to the energetic signature you're actually embodying. Not for 10 minutes during your morning practice, for the entire day, for every moment you're awake. And if the dominant frequency you're broadcasting is, I want this, I need this, where is this, why isn't this here yet? Then the reality you experience will perfectly match that frequency. A reality where you continue to want it, continue to need it, continue to wait for it. Not because you're doing manifestation wrong, because you're doing it exactly right. You're manifesting the perfect reflection of the frequency you're actually holding, which is the frequency of not having. Law of attraction, the way it's commonly taught, has made manifestation about wanting things and trying to pull them toward you. And that's the trap. Because wanting is a state of lack. The moment you want something, you're confirming it's not here. You're over here. The thing is over there. And you're trying to close the gap. But every attempt to close the gap reinforces the gap. Because you can't be in the frequency of having while simultaneously operating from the frequency of wanting. They're opposite states, and you've been toggling between them. 10 minutes of I have it during visualization. 23 and a half hours of I don't have it during the rest of your life. And wondering why the second frequency keeps winning. I'm going to tell you something that might upset you at first but will free you once you understand it. You don't attract what you want. You can't. Attraction implies distance. You here, thing there, trying to pull it closer. But that's not how reality works. Reality doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you are, to the frequency you embody, not the frequency you're trying to embody. Not the frequency you think you should embody. The frequency you actually are, moment to moment, breath to breath, decision to decision. And if you are the frequency of wanting, you get the experience of wanting. If you are the frequency of having, you get the experience of having. It's not magic, it's physics. It's resonance. It's the most reliable law in existence. You don't attract your reality. You become the frequency of it. And reality matches. Think about something you already have, not something you want. Something you have. Your ability to read these words, your next breath, maybe a specific skill you've had for years. You're not trying to attract your ability to read. You're not visualizing having breath. You don't spend energy wanting the skill you already possess. You just have these things. And because you have them, because you exist in the frequency of already having, they remain, effortlessly. That's the frequency. That certainty. That neutrality. That complete lack of wanting because possession makes wanting irrelevant. And when you can be in that same frequency about the things that haven't shown up in physical form yet, when you can embody having before the evidence arrives, that's when everything changes. You've been trying to attract. You need to become. You've been trying to pull things toward you. You need to tune to where they already exist. You've been operating from wanting. You need to shift to having. Not pretending, not acting as if. Actually becoming the frequency. And the moment you do, the moment you stabilize there, reality has no choice but to reorganize itself to match. Not because the universe finally decided to give you what you want, because you stopped being the frequency of wanting and became the frequency of having. And having is what manifests having. Always, without exception. Let me show you exactly how this works. Because once you understand the mechanics, once you see what's actually happening when something manifests, you'll never approach this the same way again. You know how a radio works. There are hundreds of stations broadcasting right now, all around you. Different frequencies, different content, all transmitting simultaneously through the same space. And your radio isn't attracting any of them. It's not sending out a signal saying, "Please come to me 95.7 FM. It's just tuning, matching frequency. And the second it matches, the station is there, instantly. Not because it traveled to you, because it was always there. You just weren't calibrated to receive it. Every possible version of your life works exactly the same way. The version where you're in the relationship. The version where money flows easily. The version where you're doing work that actually matters to you. The version where you feel peaceful instead of anxious. All of these exist right now. Not as fantasy, not as potential, as actual frequencies broadcasting in the quantum field. And you're not experiencing them not because they're far away, or because the universe hasn't delivered them yet. You're not experiencing them because you're not tuned to them. You're tuned to a different frequency, and you're getting exactly what that frequency broadcasts. This is the part that's hard to accept. You are not experiencing reality and then having an emotional response to it. You are emitting a frequency, and reality is responding to that. The frequency comes first, the experience comes second, always. What you're living right now, the circumstances you're in, the money in your account, the relationship status you have, the opportunities that are or aren't appearing, all of it is a perfect match to the frequency you were holding weeks or months ago. Not the frequency you were trying to hold during meditation, the frequency you were actually embodying throughout your days. And if that frequency was "I don't have what I want," then what you're experiencing now is the material manifestation of that frequency, which looks like still not having what you want. Here's why wanting doesn't work. Every time you want something, you are tuning to the frequency of its absence. You are literally calibrating yourself to the station that broadcasts, "This is not here." And that station plays one song on repeat. Lack. You tune to lack, you experience lack. Not because you're being punished, not because you don't deserve it, because that's the frequency you're matched to. And reality, which has no opinion about what you should or shouldn't have, simply reflects the frequency back to you with perfect accuracy. The version of reality where you have what you want is broadcasting right now. But it's broadcasting at a different frequency than the one you're currently tuned to. And no amount of wanting will change your tuning. Wanting is the tuning. Wanting is you locked onto the frequency of not having and wondering why the not having keeps playing. You keep turning up the volume on wanting, thinking that will help. But turning up the volume doesn't change the station. You're just experiencing lack more intensely. Louder lack, clearer lack, but still lack. When you actually have something, there's a specific signature to that state. You don't think about it constantly. You don't check for it. You don't feel anxiety about whether it's real. You don't get excited every time you remember you have it, you just have it. It's neutral, integrated, yours. There's a relaxation to it, a certainty that requires no effort. That's the frequency of having. And when you can generate that same signature, that same relaxed certainty about something that hasn't appeared in physical form yet, you've matched the frequency. And matching the frequency means the experience follows. Most people think, but I can't feel like I have it when I don't. And that right there is the problem. You're waiting for physical reality to change before you change your frequency. But physical reality is the result, not the cause. It's the lag. What's showing up now is the consequence of the frequency you were holding before. And what you're holding now is what's going to show up next. If you keep waiting for circumstances to shift before you shift your frequency, you're locked in a loop. Circumstances won't shift until frequency shifts. And you won't shift frequency because you're letting circumstances determine frequency. You have to break the loop. And you break it by choosing the frequency first, by becoming the match first, by tuning to the station of already having, even when every piece of evidence says you don't. Not pretending, not lying to yourself, but recognizing that the you who has what you want exists at a specific frequency. And if you become that frequency, if you embody that state, if you operate as that version, reality has to reflect it. Not eventually, immediately. Because frequency and reality are not separate. They're the same thing experiencing itself from different angles. You don't attract what you want. You tune to the frequency where it already exists. And the moment you stabilize at that frequency, the moment you stop checking the old station to see if anything changed and just stay locked onto the new one, everything shifts. Not because you convinced the universe to give you something, because you stopped being the frequency of not having and became the frequency of having. And having manifests having. Always. It's law. Here's where most people get stuck. They understand the concept. They agree that frequency matters. They know wanting keeps them in lack. But then they go back to the same practices that reinforce the problem. They visualize having what they want. They do mirror work affirming they already have it. They script in their journal as if it's already real. And they think they're matching the frequency. But they're not. They're performing the frequency. And performance is not embodiment. When you visualize yourself having something, you are by definition separate from it. You're here, imagining a future where you have it. The act of visualization requires you to be outside the experience looking in. You close your eyes and create a mental movie of the desired reality. And in that movie, future you has the thing. But present you, the one doing the visualizing, is still the one without it. You're reinforcing the split. You over here creating images of a you over there who has what you want. That's not frequency matching. That's frequency separation. Affirmations do the same thing. You stand in front of a mirror and say, I am wealthy, I am loved, I am successful. And the entire time you're saying it, there's a voice in the back of your mind saying, no, you're not. Because you're not. Not yet. And your nervous system knows it. Your body knows it. The affirmation is words. The frequency is what your body actually believes. And if your body is in the state of trying to convince itself of something that isn't currently true, that's the frequency you're broadcasting. Trying. Effort. The gap between what is and what you're claiming. And the gap is what manifests. Embodiment is different. Embodiment is not imagining the state, it's being the state, right now. In this body. In this moment. With no future reference point. When you embody something, you're not picturing yourself having it later. You're operating as the version of you for whom this is already true. And that shifts everything, because embodiment is present tense. It's happening now. Not in visualization, in your actual nervous system, in your actual decisions, in how you actually move through the world. Think about confidence. You can visualize yourself being confident. You can affirm, I am confident. You can script stories of confident moments. But none of that makes you confident. Confidence is a state you embody. And when you embody it, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to remind yourself. You just are. You make decisions from it. You speak from it. You move from it. It's integrated into your operating system. That's embodiment. And that's the frequency that manifests matching reality. The version of you that has what you want is not a future self. It's a frequency. And that frequency exists now. Not tomorrow. Not after manifestation happens. Now. And you can access it now. Not by imagining it. By becoming it. By letting your body, your thoughts, your decisions, your entire way of being shift into that frequency and stay there. Not for 10 minutes during practice, for the whole day. Until it's not something you do. It's something you are. Here's the test. If you're doing a practice and then stopping the practice and going back to normal, you're not embodying. You're performing. Embodiment doesn't turn off. The confident person doesn't stop being confident when they're not actively thinking about confidence. The wealthy person doesn't stop operating from abundance when they're not doing money affirmations. The loved person doesn't question their worth when no one's around. The state is integrated, it's their baseline. And that integration is what creates the frequency match. Most people are trying to split themselves. Be the wanting person most of the day, then be the having person during their manifestation practice, then switch back to wanting person and hope the 5 minutes of having was enough. It's not, because the dominant frequency wins. And if you're spending 23 hours in lack and 1 hour in abundance, lack is the dominant frequency. That's what's broadcasting. That's what reality reflects. You have to flip it. The frequency of having has to become your baseline, not something you access during meditation, something you live from. And that means making every decision, having every thought, taking every action from the place of already being the person who has it, not acting as if, being as is. There's no gap, no performance, no trying, just the simple reality of operating as that version. And when you do that, when you sustain that, when it becomes more real than the current circumstances, the circumstances have no choice but to reorganize, because they're not solid, their frequency made visible. And when frequency changes, visibility changes with it. Visualization keeps you in the future. Affirmation keeps you in effort. Embodiment brings you into now. And now is the only place manifestation actually happens. Not later. Not when conditions are right. Now. When you become the frequency now. And stay there. So how do you actually do this? How do you become the frequency instead of just thinking about it or visualizing it or hoping for it? It starts with a question most people never ask. Not, what do I want? That question keeps you in wanting. The real question is, who already has what I want? Not a specific person, a frequency signature, a way of being. If you want the relationship, who is the version of you that's already in a fulfilling relationship? If you want the money, who is the version of you for whom money flows easily? If you want the opportunity, who is the version of you that opportunities naturally find? These versions exist, not as fantasies, as frequencies you can tune to. And the moment you identify the frequency, you can become it. Here's what most people do wrong. They look at what they want and they try to figure out how to get it, what actions to take, what strategies to use, what steps to follow. And all of that is operating from the current version of you trying to acquire something the current version doesn't have. That's the wanting frequency. That's the lack frequency. You're still you, trying to get the thing. But the you who has the thing is not the you trying to get it. It's a different frequency entirely. And you can't get there through action. You get there through shift. The shift is identity level. It's not about doing different things. It's about being different. And being different means operating from a different set of assumptions about who you are and what's true for you. The version of you that has what you want doesn't question whether it's possible, doesn't wonder when it will show up, doesn't check for evidence. That version operates from the assumption that this is already handled, already real, already integrated into their reality. And that assumption creates a frequency, and that frequency is what you need to match. Let me give you the actual practice. Stop asking, how do I get this? Start asking, who am I when I have this? And then feel into that. Not imagine it. Feel it. What does that version of you know that current you doesn't? What do they not worry about anymore? What decisions do they make easily that current you struggles with? What do they no longer tolerate? What do they expect as normal? Get specific. Because the more specific you get about the frequency, the easier it is to embody it. Then you make one simple commitment. For the next 24 hours, you're going to be that version. Not act like them. Be them. Every decision you make as them. Every thought you have, you filter through their perspective. Every interaction you have, you show up as them. You're not pretending. You're not faking. You're choosing to operate from that frequency and seeing what happens when you do. And here's what you'll notice immediately. It feels different. Your body feels different. Your thoughts feel different. The way you move through the world feels different. Because you've shifted frequency. And even though nothing in your external reality has changed yet, you've changed. And you is what determines reality. Most people can hold this for an hour. Maybe 2. Then they check their bank account and see the same number and immediately drop back into the old frequency. Or they look at their empty bed and feel the lack and collapse back into wanting. This is the critical moment. This is where manifestation lives or dies. Can you maintain the frequency when the evidence contradicts it? Can you stay tuned to the station of having when physical reality is still showing you not having? Because if you can't, you're still letting circumstances determine frequency. And that means you're still stuck. The version of you that has it doesn't need evidence to know it's real. They know it's real because they are the frequency of it being real. And their knowing is what creates the evidence, not the other way around. You're waiting for proof before you believe. But belief is not what creates manifestation. Frequency is. And you access the frequency by being it first. Before proof. Before evidence. Before logic says it makes sense. You become it, and you hold it.
And maybe that's the truth most people spend their whole lives missing. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. Not your wishes, not your words, but your frequency. The energy you carry when no one is watching. The thoughts you repeat in silence. The identity you've accepted as, this is just who I am. Because life doesn't respond to what you hope for, it responds to what you embody. So if you keep chasing success while feeling unworthy, if you keep wanting love while expecting rejection, if you keep dreaming bigger while thinking smaller, nothing changes, not because the world is against you, but because your signal hasn't changed. But here's where everything shifts. The moment you decide to become the version of you who already has it, who thinks differently, moves differently, believes differently, reality has no choice but to reorganize around you. Because frequency isn't something you fake, it's something you become. So stop chasing, stop waiting, stop asking, when will it come? And start asking the only question that matters. Who do I need to become so that what I want can recognize me? Because the moment you change your frequency, you don't just find what you are looking for, it finds you.